Hello, homeschool friends. Miss Kathy here, welcoming you to Mexico. We are ready to start our year traveling across the globe, learning about countries and cultures that are less familiar to us. So if you're ready to get started, I am too. Okay, friends, so if you came to pick up your packet, you got in your packet a bingo game, and there are two ways to play. You can play with each other, brothers and sisters, with the card of words and your individual card, or we can play together because I will mention every single word that is on anyone's card as we go through the slideshow. So you can decide how, or if you want to play both ways, our game today. All right, friends, so here is our map of the world. We have North America, South America, Africa, Europe, Asia, and Oceania. Well, we're not going to be traveling too far this month. We live right here in the United States, quite specifically at the very bottom of Lake Michigan. Most of us live about right here. And if we wanted to travel to Mexico, all we have to do is make our way south. You can drive, or you can fly, and a lot of people will even take a cruise ship, maybe get on a cruise ship somewhere in Texas or Florida and come over here to the two areas of Mexico. This is the Baja Peninsula. Here is the mainland of Mexico, and then this area right over here we call the Yucatan Peninsula. So right here is Mexico. Moving on, here's a bigger picture of Mexico. Mexico has 31 states and a single federal district. Like we have Washington, D.C., they have their federal district, and we have 50 states in Washington, D.C., they have 31 states, and then their federal district. It borders the U.S., borders to the north. There's Texas, there's New Mexico, Arizona, and California, and to the south, Guatemala and Belize are the southern borders, and we have the Pacific Ocean on this side and the Gulf of Mexico on the east side. The Gulf of Mexico is part of the Atlantic Ocean, but it's specifically referred to as the Gulf of Mexico. There's a lot of things to know about Mexico. So Mexico City is the capital. They have one president who is the head of state and the head of the government, and they do not have a vice president at all. That president is president for 6 years, and he can only be president one time. There is no vice president. They have 3 branches of government, much like the U.S. does. They have the executive branch, the legislative branch, and the judicial branch. Everyone over the age of 18 is expected to vote. And something that I learned through all this is that if you are male and over 18, you're expected to sign up for their military. If you don't, you will not get a military card, and it will be next to impossible to get a job, to buy a home, and to do some of the things you need to do. So it is expected that you won't even be able to get a passport in some cases unless you do some other, unless you prove that being in the military would not have worked for you. So that's a very interesting thing. It's not a draft, but it is expected. Their money are centavos and pesos, and here's some pictures of them right there, and here's the picture of the Mexican flag. It's actually referred to, I should say, the United Mexican States is the literal title, and they have the eagle in the middle. So this is just a little bit about the Mexican government. And we always have a language section. Now, there are 68 indigenous languages. According to official data, there are 69 official languages of Mexico, 68 indigenous languages, and Spanish. And the 10 most spoken Spanish words are right here. Let's say them together. Hello. Hola. Good morning. Buenos dias. Adios. Goodbye. Or bye-bye. Disculpa. Excuse me. ¿Cómo estás? How are you? Gracias. Thank you. Te amo. I love you. Por favor. Please. Lo siento. I'm sorry. Encantado de conocerle. Nice to meet you. Bien. Gracias. That means fine and thank you. And muchas gracias. Thank you very, very much. So these are 10 Spanish phrases. You may have heard those before, but it's kind of fun to go through those. And now this is our Did You Know section. There's a few fun things, fun facts. Mexico City is home to one of the largest bullfighting arenas in the world. It seats 50,000 people. Over 250,000 Mexicans served in the U.S. military during World War II. And let's see, we can find some, a long line of advanced Native American civilizations by studying Mexican history. So you're going to see more of this as we go through the slides. A little history. So I'm going to step out. In 8600, there is artifacts representing the Mayan culture for several centuries. And then we're going to move forward to around the 1300s, and the Aztec civilization begins to conquer other areas. And the Aztecs become very, very powerful. They lived in the region that is now Mexico City. We'll talk about that in a little while. Then in 1521, Hernan Cortes, a conquistador, came from Spain to conquer the Aztecs. He took people as slaves, and he brought European diseases that wreaked havoc on that area. By the 1700s, the trade was growing between Europe and the people of Mexico. And then in 1810, a priest, Miguel Hidalgo y Costilla, began to fight for Mexicans' independence from Spain. They wanted to be independent from Spain. In 1821, 11 years later, they gained their independence, but then they were still pretty fragile. In 1861, the French moved in, and they wanted to take over. In 1867, the French were driven out. And then the Mexican Revolution actually started in 1910, not ending until 1920, but that was Mexico as we know it today. So there was a lot happening through the course of history in Mexico, a lot of changes. But now we're into some of the parts of Mexico that's fun to talk about. So the river that borders much of the Mexican border in the south of the U.S., the north in Mexico, the Mexicans call it the Rio Bravo. We refer to it as the Rio Grande. You've probably heard of the Rio Grande. And it is a lifeline to the expansive desert because the northern part of Mexico is very desert-like. Here's a picture of one area of the Rio Bravo, and it travels nearly 1,900 miles, starting way up in Colorado and coming all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico. Now, if we're talking about landforms in Mexico, there's 3 specific landforms. We're going to start by looking at the north, the central, and the south. You're going to see a lot of mountains, and then we're going to see a little bit more that comes up. The Sonoran and the Chihuahua deserts are towards the north and in the Baja Peninsula, And in the desert, it's going to be dry, it's going to be hot. And these are some of the plants and animals you're going to know from the desert. You're going to see cactus, saguaro, prickly pear, lots of different kind of cactus and dry climate plants. You're going to see lots of different animals, different birds. These are burrowing owls. Prairie dogs are so fun to watch. We have some turtles and just lots and lots of dry land. That is the very, very northern part of Mexico. And we're going to go down and kind of talk a little bit about central Mexico and the Mexican plateau. The mountains, the Sierra Madre Occidental, and the mountain ranges create a plateau in the middle. Remember when I said that the Aztec capital and now the Mexican capital, Mexico City, are in this plateau area in between the mountain ranges. Now, because this is a mountain area, we're going to find Mexican black bear. We're going to see lots of other types of animals and beautiful waterfalls and beautiful landscapes. We're also going to find, because it's mountainy, lots of minerals. There's gold and iron and zinc and all sorts of minerals mined in Mexico. Super exciting stuff. It's rich in minerals. And then you're going to head a little bit more south near the Guatemala and Belize, and you're going to be in a tropical rainforest. One of the famous is the Lacandan jungle, and you're going to find rainforest in jungle animals, birds, monkeys, cats, frogs, all these different little things. And we're going to talk a little bit about this plant in a little while. This plant is one that we probably all love the fruits of. Does anybody know what it is? I'm going to tell you in a little while. Super excited about this. So this is our rainforest slide. Now, if you've ever been with us in Homeschool, we have talked so many times about the Ring of Fire. No matter where we talk about, if it's near the Pacific coast, the Ring of Fire is an area that it's what we commonly call areas that have lots of earthquakes and lots of volcanoes. So if you look at our slide right here, the large circles are earthquakes over 7 in the Richter scale. The smaller circles are smaller earthquakes. And the red triangles are active volcanoes, and the more pink triangles are inactive volcanoes. We have some pictures of some of the different volcanoes that you might see if you go there. So this is one you can see right from Mexico City, and it looks like it might be dormant on the bottom, but then what do you see coming out the top? It is not dormant at all. So the Ring of Fire. Now let's go to the Mayans. The Mayans, what did the Mayans do for us? I have 3 words. Chocolate, rubber, and the number 0. Before the Mayans, the number started with 1. But the Mayans took us to a place where the number 0 should be part of our number line. So something that they taught us. Also, you can look online sometime, look up a Pocketalk game. They throw a rubber ball through this hoop. Now, in our world, a hoop laying horizontal, we might throw a rubber ball in, and we call that basketball. This is Pocketalk. You can see that the opening is vertical, not horizontal, but the rule of the game is to get the ball through the hole. Much like our current basketball game, super fun. Mayans developed a calendar that's very famous, and this would be some of the remnants of their culture. they did a lot of writing. There was advanced writing and language in the Mayan culture as well. And then we'll move on to the Aztec culture, which there's a lot of similar things, but Tenochtitlan is where the Aztec capital was. Remember I said that that was the Aztec capital, and then Mexico City is the current capital in the exact same spot. If you traveled to Mexico City, you could see some of the ruins or the leftovers from that Aztec capital. And here's a picture in a museum that might look like what it looked like at the time in the marketplace. And you can see some of the buildings up here, but this would be the marketplace down low. So it's kind of exciting to learn a little bit about their culture, the Aztecs in Mexico. And we did talk about that one special plant. We call that the cocoa plant. And what comes from the cocoa plant? Chocolate. So there is a 4,000-year history of chocolate. We see right here a representation of an Aztec or a Mayan top figure drinking it, and it was very, very bitter. Much like if you don't add anything to your coffee today, it was a very bitter drink, but it was the drink of the important people in the cultures. Well, when the conquistadors came from Spain, they found that Mexico, they knew that cocoa bean, they knew that those natives thought very highly of it. And when they took it back to Spain, the Spanish added sugar to it. Well, that just sweetened it up and made it a little less bitter and a lot more yummy, something that everyone wanted. And something Spain did was they kept it a secret for a very, very long time. But then one of their princes married a princess from another European country, and the secret of chocolate got out, and it spread through Europe super fast. And then they decided, it went on to Great Britain and some other areas, and they decided that if they add milk to it, it would mold better and make bars better. So it went from a bitter drink to a sweet, delicious drink to more than just a drink, but a bar. You can't go to the store without seeing a chocolate bar somewhere. Over the years, we've added other flavors to it. Chocolate is such an exciting thing, and that came directly from the Aztecs and the Mayans from Mexico. Now, just a little bit, I'm going to step off the stage again. Mexico makes and trades mainly with the United States, some with Latin America, some with Europe, a little bit with China, Oceania, Africa, not a whole lot. Their largest manufacturing is vehicles and electronics and machinery. They do a lot of that manufacturing in Mexico, and they ship a lot of that out. So this is just a slide talking about their exports. And something you may be very familiar with is the monarch butterfly. Monarch butterflies are very popular around here. We know they grow on milkweed, and we're around here, but we talk a lot about the migration. So the breeding is in the U.S., but then they migrate from the West Coast over here, just north of the Baja, but from the Midwest and the East, they come all the way down here, past the mountains and into the more rainforesty regions of Mexico. So that's kind of a fun thing to talk about. When you're talking about Mexico, we know the caterpillars and the butterflies migrate down to this region. And finally, friends, food. Who doesn't love to go to a Mexican restaurant? I know I do. Mexicans usually eat a big, hearty breakfast, and then in the afternoon, set aside time for a big, hearty lunch, and their light meal is their evening meal, typically much later than what our evening meal might be. Some things you may be familiar with: mole, flautas, elote, pozole, some of the sweets, sopapilla, flan, jango, and tamales, and chilaquitas. These are some very, very yummy Mexican dishes, and we are fortunate to have a lot of good Mexican restaurants around here where we can get authentic, good Mexican food. So, as this ends our slideshow portion, it's time for Miss Debbie to join us and talk a little bit about what's next for homeschool.
Hi kids, I'm going to come over here where Miss Kathy was and stuff. Normally during this time we would read a story, wouldn't we, and stuff, but because we're doing it this way, I'm going to let you read your stories at home. We're going to have a cart in the children's department that our librarians have picked out special books, some of them fiction, some of them nonfiction about Mexico. So when you come in to get your kit, you can look at the cart and take some home and learn some more in-depth things about Mexico. And then I'm going to do a little recommendation during this time. So this month, I read The Harvest Birds. And it's a really sweet Mexican folklore, and you know I love the folklore of the countries and stuff. And it talks about how this young boy farmer got his own land by watching the birds and learning things from nature itself. And so it's kind of my recommendation for the month. Please come in and check out the cart and see Miss Kathy and I, and then you know, like I said, you'll learn more things about Mexico more in depth than on your own, okay? So, guess what happens next? Miss Kathy, can you switch the slide? It's time for our craft, isn't it? Yep. Okay, so Miss Kathy talked about the wonderful tropical regions of Mexico, and I found this bird. It's called a quetzal, and it's in that region, and it goes down as far as Panama. And I just thought it was just really a pretty bird. So I kind of created my rendition of the quetzal. So I'm going to pull over my table and we'll get started. Okay, so this is our goal, is to make a quetzal. So I'm just going to show you the back and front to start. Okay, so if you came in to get your kit, and there might be some still available if you haven't already, you're going to get all these pieces, and you're going to have to do some cutting. Okay, I'll have the poles punched for you, but you're going to get the body and this head that kind of makes more feathers on top of it, okay? And you're going to have 2 tail feathers. We're going to have the outline for an eye, and a Google eye, a beak, and some talons. And then we're going to get you this is kind of an optional part. You're going to have a pipe cleaner and a clothespin so that you can make a little hanger on the back if you'd like, okay? And then we're going to have some brads to kind of make it fun so you can slide it up and down. So here we go. So I cut mine out already in preparation for this. So here is my body all cut out. This is the head feathers, okay? Just be careful not to cut on this line. I put in the directions to just cut on the outside lines, because that will make this a little bit cranky if you do that, okay? So we're going to put a little glue on here. And put that on. And then we're going to have the outline for our eye. So all you're really going to need are scissors and glue. And if you want to do some decorating with some markers and stuff, that's always an option. And I know how creative you kids are. So feel free to do whatever you need to do there. So we put the eye on. What else do we need? Oh, I think we need a beak, don't we? Let me see if I can find one here. Let's put a beak on. You can kind of see which way you like it. I kind of like it to go this way. There you go. And then I'm going to put my talons on too while I'm here. Where are my talons? Oh, you know, just kind of tuck that under the bottom like that, okay? Okay. So there is pretty much the body of our bird, okay? So then we have our 2 tail feathers like I told you. This is the shorter one. Put some glue on there. Now most of the pictures that I saw about this bird, this part was white. but it's your bird. You can do whatever you want. It's just, so I'm gonna put 2 white feathers on there to showcase that. And then this one, and the other tech tip I have for you kids is that I'm only gonna give you so many feathers, so kind of line them up, make sure you have enough to cover everything. So you're gonna do the same thing with the tail, the long tail feather, which I think is the coolest part of this bird. And I kind of did that ahead of time to save us some time. And then we get to build our bird. So I'm gonna put 2 brads in our kit. Those of you that have been in homeschool before know I enjoy a good brad. So I'm gonna put the short tail feather on, and then the long tail feather on. And you see how the back of this splits? So I don't want to split it yet, do I? I want to put it in the bottom hole, and I'll have these holes punched for you, so you don't have to worry about having a hole punch. And then you're going to split it on the back like that to hold it in there. And now you can move your feathers around, your tail feathers, okay? And then you've got your top feather, your wing more or less, and you're gonna put the brad through that and through the body of the bird on that top hole like that. And again, you'll be able to move that up and down and you can play with your bird a little bit. So, and then this next part is optional. I always enjoy being able to hang my craft someplace or hold on to it easier. So I'm gonna put in there a clothespin and some glue dots. And if you have access to a hot glue gun or something, that's fine too. I know some of you just have to work with what I give you, so I try to give you things that are kid-friendly. And these glue dots are very kid-friendly. I think they're a little sticky, but they're kid-friendly. And you just stick that on the back like that. And so if you just want to stop there, that's fine. Otherwise, you know me, I like to give you lots of options. So I'm going to put, see how I just threaded that through that hole, the pipe cleaner, and then you just twist it at the top to make your hanger. And there you have your puzzle bird. So I hope you have fun making this. So I just wanted to remind you that not to forget to come in and pick up some of the books that we have available for you about Mexico. Miss Kathy put a couple out here for me to show you too here. And please enjoy learning about this really fascinating country. I'll turn it back over to Miss Kathy now. See you next time.
Well, Miss Debbie and I would like to thank you for joining us today, and we want to invite you to visit us next month. It'll go live October 16th, and we're going to travel virtually to the Philippines. So excited to have you join us. Tell your family and friends, anyone can come in and anybody can tune in and join us. We would love to have you join us for the Philippines. Thanks. See you soon. Bye-bye.